I already done my re-review on the movie Elf. Which one should I do next? Oh, that's right. I was about to do my movie review on It's a Wonderful Life. Hi guys, you're just in time. I'm about to do a movie review on It's a Wonderful Life from 1946. And without further ado, let's get this started. Cue the intro. Hi guys, this is Jonathan the Disney fan here once again. And today, here's my review on It's a Wonderful Life that came in the year of 1946. So basically what the plot's about, it's Christmas Eve of 1945 in Bedford Falls in New York, and the 38-year-old George Bailey contemplates suicide. The prayers of his family and friends reached heaven while Angel second class Clarence Oddbody is assigned to save George to earn his wings, and Clarence is shown flashbacks of George's life. He watches a 12-year-old George saving his brother from Harry from drowning, but lose hearing in his left ear. Later, he prevents the distraught town druggist, Mr. Garner, from accidentally poisoning a child's prescription. And then in 1928, George plans a world tour before college and is reintroduced to Mary Hatch, who has always had a crush on him. The attraction is now mutual, and then his father had suffered a stroke, and then sadly he dies, and George postpones his travel to sort out the family business, Bailey Brothers Building and Loan, with a very avaricious board member, Henry F. Potter, who controls most of the town's business, seeks to dissolve. The other board members vote to keep the building and loan open if George will run it. George acquiesces and works alongside with his uncle. Billy then gives Billy, and then he gives the tuition to Harry with the understanding that he'll run the business when Harry graduates. And then he returns to college all married with a superb job from his father-in-law. But then George becomes melancholy and doesn't stand in Harry's way and continues running the building and loan. And immediately following their wedding, George and Mary witness a run on the bank and use their $2,000 honeymoon savings to keep the building and loan solvent. Under George's leadership, the company eventually establishes Bailey Park, a modern house development to rival Potter's overpriced slums. Potter offers George $20,000 a year, and to be assistant, but realizing that Potter's true intention is actually shutting down the building and loan, and George rebuffs and rebukes him. Then during World War II, he becomes ineligible for service because of his deaf ear, and he becomes a Navy pilot and earns a Medal of Honor for shooting down a kamikaze plane headed for a troop transport. On Christmas Eve 1945, as the town prepares a hero's welcome for Harry, Billy goes to the bank to deposit $8,000 of the building and loans cash. Billy taunts Potter with a newspaper headline about Harry, but he unintentionally wraps the envelope of cash in Potter's newspaper and hands it to Potter, only finding out that Potter finds the envelope but saying nothing. And while Billy cannot recall how he placed the cash, with a bank examiner reviewing the company's records, he realizes scandal, and George realizes it was a scandal and criminal charge, and it will follow. And fruitlessly retracing Billy's steps, George berates him and takes out his frustration on his family. George desperately appeals to Potter for a loan, offering his life insurance policy with $500 in equity as collateral. Based on the policy's $15,000 nominal value, Potter says to George it's worth more dead than alive, and phoned the police to arrest him for misappropriation of funds. George flees and gets drunk at the bar and prays in vain for help. Suicidal, he goes nearby bridge, but before he can jump, Clarence decides to dive in the water, and George leaps in, and then he rescues him. And when George wishes he'd never been born, Clarence showed him a Thailand in which he never existed. Bedford Falls is now Pottsville, an unsavory town occupied by sleazy entertainment, Venice, crime, and immoral people. The lives George touched are vastly different. The druggist, Mr. Garner, was imprisoned for manslaughter since George was not around to prevent him from poisoning the pills, and George's mother doesn't know him at all, and reveals Billy was institutionalized after the building and loan failed. Billy parks in a cemetery where George discovers young Harry's grave, since George did not save Harry at all, and when Harry was not there to save the soldiers on the transport ship, George finds that Mary is a spinster librarian, and when he claims to be her husband, she screams for the police. She freaks out and calls the police, and George runs away. Yeah, the future that he saw when he wishing that he was never been born looked really bleak for him. And now convinced that Clarence is his guardian angel, George returns to the bridge and begs for his life back. The original reality is restored, and a grateful George rushes home to await his arrest. Mary and Billy arrive after rallying the townspeople, who donate more than enough to cover the missing $8,000. Harry arrives and toasts George as the richest man in town. And then George receives a copy of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer as a gift from Clarence, with a note reminding George that no man is a failure who has friends, and thanking him for his wings. And on that moment, a bell on the Christmas tree rings. George's youngest daughter explains that it means that an angel has earned his wings, signifying Clarence's promotion. That's basically what the plot is. What do I think about it? This is an absolute Christmas classic. I mean, this is probably one of the best Christmas movies I've ever seen in my entire life. James Stewart and Donna Reed, Lionel Barrymore, everybody, did so well. I mean, I've never seen an acting so good as this one. This is probably one of the best actings I've seen in a Christmas movie is this one. I mean, even the plot had a really good taste. I mean, the plot was very creative and very original, and how it focused on that man named George Bailey, and when he wished he'd never been born, and seeing how bleak it would have been, and when he wasn't born, it was just phenomenal. It was just, and at the ending was phenomenal. But the part where he said he was never been born, and when he looked at what could have been if he was never been born, it looked really bleak, but the ending was very phenomenal. So yeah, I find the plot to be absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the acting was just amazing. The characters were absolutely very believable and likable characters. This is just it probably one of the best actings I've ever as well. And Frank Capra did such an amazing job with the directing for this brilliant Christmas masterpiece. And yeah, 70 it's almost 74 years later, we got a beautiful Christmas movie like this one here, It's a Wonderful Life, capturing the audience's and capturing the audience's entertainment, and it still lives up to its type. This is such a true Christmas classic. It's a Wonderful Life is literally the most wonderful Christmas film ever. If you haven't seen it, where have you been? Find this movie on the internet, or at the thrift store, or in your local stores. Just buy this movie if you see it. It's an excellent movie, and it still lives up to its type, and it's also one of my favorite Christmas films of all time, obviously. This film to me is absolutely wonderful. It's phenomenal. I love It's a Wonderful Life. It's such a great Christmas film. So besides the positives, is there anything negative I have to say? Well, no. So for my final rating for It's a Wonderful Life, I'm gonna give this movie a 7 out of 7. Outstanding film. And there you go. That was my review on It's a Wonderful Life. Thanks for watching this video once again, guys. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to me. This is Jonathan, the Disney fan, once again, and I'll see you guys next time on my next video. And I'll see you guys later.